Pac wants to start the day with some clean coffee, so we'll probably do either this Typica Merai wash or Esmeralda washed. You know, the good stuff. And I'll show him my Z1 recipe. Let's do Esmeralda.
Yep.
Okay, so O1 or Z1. Oh my God, there are multiple O1s and Z1s that exist in the coffee world now, which is crazy. But oh wow. Okay, so I have 15 grams here. I find with brewers like this, because these zero bypass brewers, especially at least in my experience, if they have the flat bottom here, like your Pulsars and all of that, I find that you get very, very sweet cups or very harmonious cups versus something like the column that has the cone. If you have the cone shape, I find that you get more acidity and dynamics. And my kind of thought process with brewing, generally speaking these days, is just like, I just love dumping a ton of water very, very fast, but I want to take advantage of the extraction efficiency. Like, oh, this should theoretically extract very, very well. So I'm not actually that fine. I'm 6 on the 078, which I would say is actually medium coarse in the context of like how fine you can go for some of these coffees. It's just like if you take a lot of my recipes and you throw it into here, what's very, very funny is on the zero bypass brewers, it seems to bring out a lot more sweetness. But if you're doing something like a cone, or you do something like this O1 here, you'll get more like dynamics and acidity. It's kind of funny, and I think that's just because of how these brewers are made. That zero bypass, you get more of that body and sweetness versus that acidity forward presentation. However, I do find still with the agitation, and you'll see how I'm pouring here, you do still get some dynamics. Not some dynamics, you get a lot of dynamics, but you get more sweetness forward presentation. Anyway, washed Esmeralda. Oh, beautiful. Washed, I'm gonna Pac smell. Oh. Yeah,
wow.
Washed Esmeralda.
Crazy.
Yeah, this is a nice coffee. This is a really good coffee. So I got my 15 grams in here. I'm
gonna watch this recipe.
Yes. So I have my 15 grams in here. I do actually flatten the bed a little, so your grounds. I find with this brewer, I like that you can do like 10, 12, 15. I find 15 is always a good number to start with, but we're not too fine where the bed is very, very low. Pac is watching here. So my kettle temperature is 94 Celsius. So I start the timer, and I am pouring 60 grams very quickly. So that's 60 grams in about 7 seconds. So that is around 12 mils a second. But what we're taking advantage of here is just this real, the extraction efficiency of like, it's a zero bypass. All of our water that we're dumping in is getting into there. But you can see it's like, it might be hard to see on camera, but it's already so dark, right? Look how dark that is. But we're relying on kind of two things here, which is the grind size that's creating this filter of the beds, and also the actual paper filter itself. So there is some dialing in that is a little annoying on this, but you can see my kettle, I just let it drop temperature, and it's still dripping down. So I am letting it fully open up at about 1 minute. Just gonna dump this in here. So I like filling things up with this, about 170. So it's very similar to like how I brew 01 or 01 V60. It's like when you're you put about 100 mils into here, it does fill up here. I don't want to go past. I don't really find I ever go past the lip part where the Z1 goes like that. But I also find that after this really drains out, pouring the final like 40 to 60, kind of just pouring up to like your 240 to 255 area is actually quite fast. So this is also a brewer you can totally push into 1 to 17, 18, 19, even 20 range, highly dependent on coffee, of course. But you can see like I'm using a lot of the same logic where dump a lot of the water in. You sometimes even see fines and chaff and all that stick up to the edges there. and this is draining through. And almost when the bed is dry, I just pour another 100. Or I'll go up to 255 for this one. So there you go, or almost down here. It's really easy to tell because you can see it's clear, so you can see the puck. I'm going to go up to, well, actually, I went up to 263. So I found, like yesterday I was brewing 15 to 260, 15 to 270. Coffees are tasting great. And yeah, it's the same thing where mellow drip really takes care of a lot of things. You see kind of like the lava lamp effect happening here. The clearer the bed up here is, usually that's like a good indicator that you're extracting more of the coffee. Just because of like if you ever brew something like column, or you can even test this with like a clearer mellow drip, a clearer brewer and a mellow drip. If you add water very slowly and you fill it up like the lava lamp here, this will get less and less dark as you extract and dissolve more of the coffee, if that makes sense. And this brew finishes up, 3:30. Anything, it's just really funny. Anything from like 2 minutes to 4.5, 5 minutes on this brewer tastes good. But look how dark that is, considering the ratio. There you go, we're done.
Oh, that's very dark.
Yeah, very dark. I mean, you can measure if you want to see.
Yeah, sure.
This finished at 4 minutes. Look at that. Wow. Very dark. And my kettle across that 4 minutes drops to 88 Celsius. So there is a 6 degrees Celsius drop, and I think that's what really rounds out and makes things sweeter.
That smells like Esmeralda.
Yeah. Yeah, washed Esmeralda. Wow, beautiful coffee. We're at 6.5, actually.
6.5?
Yeah.
Oh, this is good ratio. Because you go for 260, right?
263, yeah.
263. This is going to be like 20% extraction.
Yeah, so I think like anything above 20 is quite easy to hit. I mean, considering I'm just pouring water under, not bad. Because our final output weight is probably like, we probably have like...
Yeah, 2155.
Yeah.
Extraction, very high.
Yeah, high extraction.
Yeah. That's on the high size. Yeah, cup in the back.
All right, let's taste.
Yeah, let's taste.
So yeah, 21?
No, 1.34.
1.34, yeah, 1.34.
So,
but that's a long ratio.
That's long ratio.
Right? Which is really cool. Yeah, if you guys like this video, we'll make more videos.
2171.
2171, not bad.
I'll show on this.
Very
Can
cool.
Can I see?
Maybe.
You think? Yeah.
2171?
Yeah.
But I think it's so easy to hit above 20% on any of these. If your goal is to chase numbers, right? But
that's very high though. It's almost like at the peak.
yeah, I mean, if you look at like
the
how
color.
dark it is, right? It's very... Like, the nice thing about the Z1 is that you get the impact of immersion, but you get so much more clarity.
It's very clear. Even though it's high extraction, it's like very clean.
I mean, this is a very good coffee. Yeah. To be fair, we're kind of cheating here using beautiful wash coffee, but sweet, very, very sweet. And there's a lot of that agitation that I think does help bring some sort of dynamics into there.
It's very guava-like. Did it have it yesterday by any chance? No.
I don't think you had this coffee yesterday. So that's one recipe. Oh, we're still good on time. Here, I'll brew this Typica Mejorado. I'll brew with a separate recipe that I saw from my friend Doug. It's an adaptation of a Doug recipe for anyone who is curious. I use the same exact grind size. So most of my recipes are quite simple. They're 3 pours. Pour very fast. Not that hard.
And it worked with C1.
Yeah, it works super well with Z1. But man, this cup is tasting great. It's very sweetness forward. So that's the thing. It's so interesting on zero bypass brewers with the flat bottom. If you do some version of my recipe versus this, it's very sweetness forward. But when it cools down, we get a lot of those dynamics from the acidity, from that agitation. You get that acidity that is still there. But we're serving coffee to people here, and sweetness is something that is, I think, very easy to perceive for most people. I think that should be the first thing that a lot of people perceive when they taste this type of brew, which is quite nice. So that's like the thing with Z1 is like it's so easy to taste. Sweetness forward. Once it cools down, we're getting a fair bit of acidity in the dynamics in here, which is what I am a big fan of. But now I'm going to try this separate recipe that I've been sort of experimenting with. So this is a different recipe right here. So same thing, 15 grams. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to still do that 60-gram bloom at the beginning where I dump a ton of water in. Then afterwards, I'm just going to do a second pour, but my second pour is very, very slow. And it's just like I'm going to need to add some water in, you'll see. And I just kind of keep pouring very, very slow and we keep filling it up and up until the ratio we want. So we're going to hold the kettle like this. So here we go. I pour my 60, still very, very fast. Because this is what I think helps open up the coffee and lets us really take advantage of like the Z1. That extraction efficiency, pouring fast with mellow drip does help increase dynamics, in my opinion. And and I think it makes the cups taste a little more interesting, a little more articulate. The exact same thing. I'm at 94 Celsius. I let this cool down, and we'll let this open up. But what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to add around 20 to 40 grams in a quick circle, so we start building that layer, and we start seeing the things get clearer and clearer. And then I'm just going to add water very, very slow, and we're going to try to pour just as fast as the coffee is draining through the bed, which is kind of hard to do, but it's a little bit easier if you have a kettle like the fish here, which lets us pour very slow. So I'm just going to add 40. So you can see I'm really trying to just keep that water level as normal. Oops.
Yeah, you keep the line right here.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep the line exactly the same. And usually, if I had a more, here we go. If I had a more water in this kettle, this would work a little bit easier, but I don't.
Oh no!
It's okay, because then I could keep the constant stream. But it doesn't really matter if you pour like left side or right side. The point is just fill this up at a very similar rate at which the water is dropping. And we just do this until we hit the ratio we want to hit. This is, I'm splitting up the pours, but it's like you'll see this little bed here get clearer and clearer. And this is what I was saying before, is that you can kind of see, like, as you keep agitating the bed up here, as it keeps going down, as it's still brewing, the water gets clearer and clearer, and usually that's a good indicator you're extracting the coffee. But I'm trying to keep the water level at like, it's like right here, but you can see it's got clearer and clearer and clearer. And usually you do this in one pour, but I was splitting it up. But basically just trying to keep that water level the same. I should have filled this up more. Then all you could do is just keep the kettle like this, and you tilt. But we're pouring at around like 2 to 4 mils a second. But you can see that it gets clearer and clearer and clearer versus like when I was brewing it up here, my third pour, it still wasn't that clear, but there was a much taller water column. So this is, it's a different coffee. We'll taste it and we'll see, but the presentation will be very different here. So, let's go. Let's taste this one.
Yeah.
You should try that. Man, the Esmeralda is tasting great. Brew time here.
210.
330. They're all in that range. You can measure this extraction too if you want to.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Oh wow. But you still look how dark that is. A lot of that, it's just going to be that bloom at the beginning. Although what's nice about column and Z1 and regular mellow drip and all of that is as you add water, as that column of water becomes clearer and clearer, that's a good indicator of if you are extracting the coffee for dissolving things. And I think it's really cool. It's just like a nice visual indicator, like, hey, you are dissolving more of the coffee and you are extracting things, right?
Actually, same extraction percent.
It should be high as well.
Is it?
Like these are all going to be high extractions. So, but
Yeah,
this
this is high extraction. Yeah, it's about 1.3, 1.
yeah, these are all going to if you look at these are all going to be quote unquote high extractions.
I think it's the same, like 21%, because
Yeah.
it's 1.32, so like 21.5% extraction, high, very high.
Yeah. So this was to 255.
Yeah.
But you can see I could just keep pouring water, like basically just keep that water column level similar, and let's taste this.
Yeah, that is pretty impressive because you only pour slowly.
Yeah.
And then you get a very high extraction.
Yeah, so one is I pour very fast and I get a high extraction. The second is I pour very slow and I get a very high extraction. And that's because I'm just taking advantage of the design of the Z1. I'm taking advantage of the fact that it is zero bypass.
This seemed like more of your cup, actually.
Yeah, so this is the high clarity, high acidity.
Yeah.
I think it's because it's just like we're building the water column up here and we're keeping it level and it's flowing through. Like basically our flow rate through is actually quite fast.
Yeah.
Like if you look at the bottom, like I don't have a way to easily measure like the flow out of the brewer, but this is the high clarity presentation. So it's really funny is if I brew like my normal way that I brew on this, which is like let's dump a ton of water. Usually that creates dynamics.
Yeah.
But on something like Z1, I think you get much more sweetness, harmonious cups. And then this recipe is very funny.
It's the opposite. I don't know if it's because of the bean. We use two different beans.
I think it's mostly going to be due to the design of the brewer. That's like my opinion
Yeah, this
currently.
is like 2 times sweeter than this. But this one is the acidity is like very punchy, very clear.
Yeah, very, very
like
clear.
Very clear cup of coffee.
Pack is going to taste these again side by side once they cooled. Obviously different coffee, but the presentation is different and our extractions are there. And we'll include Pack's recipe, I think, in another video. I don't know. We'll record maybe at the roastery. But the recipes are, I think, the biggest impact in presentation on this brewer. Like this brewer is so good. It makes everything taste good. I would say everything is very acceptable. You can use so many different coffees, but the dynamics are what shifts. And obviously, if you guys know anything about pour over brewing and how coffee works, is unfortunately how you pour water on it changes how things taste. Obviously, one you're drinking is washed Typica Merai, the other is washed Esmeralda. Very different coffees.
Yeah, very different coffee. But definitely, the first recipe that we pour a lot of like agitation. Like the first brew that Brian does. This thing is very high sweetness. It's crazy sweet. Of course, these two actually good comparison because it's the same extraction percent. Actually, exact same extraction percent. This is 1.32 TDS, and this is the 1.33, and this is 1.32. I think this is a little more extraction because we pour water higher, but I consider it as the same, only 0.1.
Yeah, it's very similar.
Yeah, very similar. So 21.5 extraction percent, which is good. This one on the second recipe is more on lighter size tea light, very high clarity, and very juicy. This thing is so juicy, it's so clear. And this one, of course, is clear, but on the sweet side. So same extraction percent, but very different type of character of these 2 cups of coffee. But of course, this is different coffee. But at the same time, this thing pull out 2 times acidity than this one, which is 2 times on the sweetness. At the beginning, if I got in the middle, that would be great. But this 2 recipe is already amazing itself. And I always mentioned, since Brian brewed my cup yesterday, like yesterday we brewed a lot of C1, and I think you brewed this one, right? More like on the sweeter side.
I brew that's sweetness forward.
On the
yeah, because like most people coming to the shop here, this could be scary.
Yeah, I personally like this one, but it's scary for people because it's high acidity, it's very punchy, it's very juicy. Which, I appreciate this type of cup of coffee, and you get to see the fruit very clearly on the washed coffee. Like you get a very sweet yellow fruit forward. I got guava there as well. It's very kiwi, very quinic in the acidity. But this one, I love this one a lot since yesterday already. I've been mentioned about Brian brew because it's so sweet and I like sweetness in the cup. So this is actually the hit for me. I like both recipe, but of course, if I have to pick, I'll pick the sweetness. But of course, this thing is crazy clear. And
Yeah.
we only use this grinder.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, 078's a good grinder.
Yeah,
It's a good
I
grinder.
mean,
but-
yeah, and yesterday we even used the P100 on,
Yeah.
on the brew, so it's even more clarity to this cup. But this cup is amazing already.
Yeah, like those are all, different adjusters you can do in the recipe if you want to bring out, more acidity and more dynamics. Obviously,
Yeah.
change the burst set, change your water, or whatever, right? But just the core actual recipe specs, I think take the same coffee and it takes the acidity, boosts it up versus
Yeah.
the sweetness, boosts
Yeah.
it up, right? So different character. And I just wanted, if you guys like this video, we'll film another video and we'll include Pac's recipe in it too. Then we'll redo everything. We'll taste everything side by side. It's a little bit hectic today because we're setting up for a pop-up. So I hope you guys understand that. But try out these recipes. They're very fun, very different tasting, and I hope you guys enjoy. And we'll see you in the next one. But Z1, good brewer. All right, bye.